pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and then we're going to recess our regular board meeting and reconvene the Board of Equalization. And I guess we need to,
Nothing's changed.
okay,
Nelsons are happy.
okay,
Everything's good.
and that was the only, okay,
So then we just need to make a motion to accept the equalization evaluation.
So
I'll second it.
there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
that got all figured out, they understood that, okay.
Okay, roll call.
Hack,
I,
Hiller,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. We will reconvene, we will adjourn the Board of Equalization and reconvene the regular city commission meeting. Okay, everyone should have got a copy of the minutes of the last meeting.
Make a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes and accept them as presented.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. We have the agenda before us. Are there any additions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the agenda.
second,
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, 6A, 2018 street project.
I guess I don't know how much everyone's been driving around, but there's some paint on some curb and markings for some removals and whatnot. They should be getting going on construction here sometime this week, probably tomorrow. They'll probably start some of the removals. At the pre-construction meeting last week to discuss schedule and all that. And sounds like they're on top of things and looks like a good project ahead of us here. So no real updates necessarily other than that. If you guys have any questions?
I do. Is any of our streets, are we gonna have everything cleaned up by the time they start scratching Dave with the cleanup?
Yeah, because I think they're starting up. They were
Okay.
finishing on the street up in North Dakota too. They should be finishing that up tomorrow.
Okay, I was just curious, I didn't wanna call you this weekend and ask you that question.
I will bring up, Ted Billadou from Mayo Construction was there today. That's that little sheet there. There was a state historical report. The area in the red circle toward the middle of the page there is an area that they want to try to avoid disturbing. So they were talking about moving their hot plant down closer to where the concrete is right now, more toward the south end of that. And he was hoping that we would be able to move the concrete that's there now over toward the east end of the grass dump. There's some big rocks already piled up there. Plus they're going to be bringing a lot more concrete material in. And they would pile it there if we want at the end of the project. They can either move it back where we want it, or he even suggested they could bring a crusher in and it could be crushed right away at the end of the project. Then as far as the grass, he was hoping that a temporary spot could be rigged up over where we have the tree dump, so we wouldn't have the public coming in and out of there while they've got trucks going back and forth. And there again, at the end of the project, they would work with the city crew and get that grass hauled over to where it's supposed to be. So I don't know if this probably just have an approval from the board that they can go ahead and work with Dave to do those things if that's what we want to do. Or And we can always talk about crushing, or if we're just gonna relocate that later this year, we're gonna get some prices from them. I'm sure they're not gonna crush it for free.
Do you have any concerns, Dave?
No, not really. They move that rock or that concrete pile over there, you know, down the roadways. If you guys don't bring in a crusher, that would probably be an inconvenient place to start a rubble pile. But if they would bring it back to where it's at now.
So they would move it both
Yes.
over and back?
Yes.
Okay, I misheard, I thought it was us moving it over and they would move it back.
Well, he would move it over there.
Yeah, and along those lines, I'd just make sure you have it in writing that they would move it back too, because it's always that, leaving the site as it was and that type of thing.
Monty, how many, or how far to these, we'll call it north or east, northeast, are they gonna go? Are they gonna go on the other side to the south of the existing grass pile?
It'd be to the north. Have you seen that rock pile that's back there on that east end, kind of on the north pile?
Well, I
where
haven't
we-
really.
It'd be-
I mean, cause where he's wanting to put the concrete versus where the drive-in is and where the grass pile is. I mean, it's,
Well, I just wrote that out
Oh.
there, that's not, there's a bunch of rocks over there for
There's a
when
big
it
rock
was
pile
developed,
to
so.
the east of
that
where we
pile
are.
where everybody, or not everybody, but certain individuals like to drive up and over.
Yeah,
East
and
of
yeah,
that.
down at that end.
So are there all those vehicles and trailers and things that are out there right now by the crushed rocks, are those part of the upcoming construction, or
A
will
few of
those
the
have to be
vehicles are.
relocated?
Yeah, they've got a few of those, and they're talking about parking theirs up there in the area that's not to be disturbed. They can just park on top of that without disturbing it.
Okay. I didn't know if those were some other people within the
There are
community.
some other ones that we have for the truck parking, but
Yeah.
if we get hold of them, we can get them moved over there.
Okay.
So in the areas in the red then, were there areas that aren't supposed to be disturbed?
Right,
What's the reason for that?
there are artifacts there.
So then, see a lot of area that.
That goes back, actually Ken Link brought it up at the pre-construction meeting, that there was a ship on there when they did the lagoon, that extra cell on the lagoon, so that's why we started looking into it. And then Mayo did have an architect, or archaeologist out there already this week, and that's where this map came from, and what's supposed to be preserved and what can be disrupted.
Does any of this change your contract in any way?
No. Like Josh said, I think the biggest thing will be to get something in writing from them with regard to moving these things and getting them back or whatever we're going to do, but I think that can still be negotiated.
And then where was the grass gonna go temporarily?
They wanted to put it over where the tree dump is. Just to put a pile over there, and then when the project's done, they'll just haul the pile back over to our normal grass dump site.
Gotcha.
So we need a motion to,
I guess move forward with
Move forward.
doing these, or trying to accommodate these requests to, it's basically for the safety is the biggest thing.
right,
Having the public going in and out there. Like he said over this weekend, when they were out there for a little bit, and he said every 10 minutes another car came in or pickup came in. So,
yeah.
you know, when they get going with trucks out there, that's gonna be a real dangerous situation.
Are we gonna have to advertise that a little bit?
We'll have to
Or-
come up with some type of signage, plus we'll put it out with all of our other information that we're going to do weekly after our construction meetings and stuff. Because that was one of the topics of discussion at the pre-construction meeting, was how we're gonna get information out, and we're gonna use the city's Facebook page and our web page, and if they need to for certain things, the contractor will go door to door giving notice to residents.
Yeah, And that power line that runs up there.
The
that's-
power line is closer to the south side there, so that shouldn't be an issue.
I agree with Casey, that's a big area. Wonder how many, is that an acre up there that's,
I'm not
did they
sure.
say?
I'm not sure.
I guess Dave, as long as you're fine with it.
Yeah, I'll work with them. I drove out there today with him and I'll be closing tomorrow and we'll go back out again. The artifacts areas, they got that flag.
Hmm.
You drive out there, you'll see their flags up on top of the generator where they got it all flagged on.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with Mayo's construction site here, as indicated on the map.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, roll call.
Pillar.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Hack.
I,
Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. Was there anything else?
The only other item I had was, it's not necessarily entirely related to the street project, but it's for the sewer service for 322 Fifth Street Northwest. We had received some information from Monty that the property owner has had kind of a repetitive blockage of their service. And we kind of went around and got a few quotes for having someone televise it. We contacted Kemper Construction, who they're one of the subcontractors, and they're doing some televising out here on the street project. So they said about $500 is what they estimated it at. That was just an estimate of their time at their hourly rate. And they said, it's depending if you can get in, the access is potentially could be hard in the house. And then we also contacted a couple other plumbers, and they were right in that $450 to $550 range. So in order to determine what could potentially be causing that blockage and what the solution may be, we would need to go ahead with that too. So maybe like that.
make a motion for that too.
I would.
I thought we
Well,
approved it last
yeah, I
time.
did
didn't
say
we?
it was approved, yeah.
We just need to find.
The only thing to be decided is who pays for it.
Yeah,
Right.
once it's determined where the
And that
blockage
was
is.
Right.
once we determined that, yep.
Did we determine on that? I can't remember if to have Kemper do it.
Oh, no, we were gonna get prices to see how much it was gonna cost.
I think if you need a motion on that.
I don't think it's
I don't-
necessary.
Yeah,
The
Kemper's
motion
here.
was to have someone do it, so.
Yeah, Kemper's here, I would say.
Yeah.
Then you're okay, just go
And I
ahead and
guess
authorize.
the one thing with it is the resident will have to be cooperative. They're gonna have to go in the house, access it from.
Yeah, he didn't have any problem with it, so.
And we'll get the contact information so that we can get along with them.
That's it.
Thanks.
okay,
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Okay, on to 7A, sidewalks, public safety. Dan, this is you.
Perfect, I love being that person. And I don't wanna be that person. I understand that there was some discussion at the last commission meeting about Fifth Street and access to the school and parking on both sides of the street. I've lived here for 7 years and obviously I don't bike or walk far, but drop my vehicle off at Annex and walk to work, and it's really difficult as a pedestrian to move around the city in a safe manner. Kids will take the shortest path possible to get to where they're going, and there are, I would guess, 30 kids probably that go down Fifth Street every day to and from school. One night I went to pick up my daughter and I almost didn't make it through Fifth Street because cars were so far parked out that I had to slow down to scooch between them and my pickup. It's just a safety factor. There's no rhyme or reason to the sidewalks on that street either, or anywhere else in town. So there's there's not even like a half a block where you make it up and then you can switch sides and make it the rest of the way, so kids just go down the street and there's cars parked both sides, so they walk down the middle of the street. And high school kids are not slow driving. I know my 8-year-old is not observant, so always makes it more interesting. So wondering if there's something we can do to have reduced speed and or one-sided parking on that street. And I don't know what our initiative for moving around town, North Dakota Moves initiative. We're looking at bike lanes. I don't know if it's a possibility during the school year to just have a lane on the non-parking side painted 3 or 4 feet, just one stripe, so kids knew where to walk. So they weren't in the middle of the street. That would be the request in that area. And then I guess I'm not certain why we have an ordinance in our community that is nowhere near followed to any extent or is ever going to be followed. So if it's not going to be followed, wouldn't it be logical to remove that ordinance from our ordinances? I mean, there were entire subdivisions built without sidewalks since that ordinance is in place. So I don't understand why, I guess it's there if there's zero intent on actually following that. And I can use, my block is a great spot. This block's right here, there's an entire city block without a sidewalk on either side, any way, shape, or form. It's just very difficult to get anywhere on a sidewalk. Which is fine. Most of our streets are slow traffic and we haven't had a whole bunch of people wandering the streets, thank goodness, but I guess it doesn't make sense to have it necessarily there if we're never going to use it.
I guess I've wondered the same thing, and I've talked to Dan about that. My question is, and I think Shannon answered it before we walked in here this evening, excuse me. Was it up to the residents, or did they have a choice when they built to put their sidewalk in? Well, can anybody have, do you know, or was it up to them to do it, or?
I was here long before I was here. The ordinance was.
Yeah.
I think Steve explained it that it started out as everybody had to do it, and then it got to a point where they gave them the option. And that's why you have a house with a sidewalk and a house without a sidewalk and a house with a sidewalk.
So we kind of loosey-goosey it.
And just let it fall through the cracks.
I personally, before, getting rid of it, but if we have to tweak something to get rid of it, I don't know what our first step
So
is.
when you put in the sidewalk, who pays for that sidewalk to go into my yard? I do?
Property owner.
Okay, that's my question.
That's what the ordinance says.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep. And when we give them we didn't, to me, we didn't really enforce it, but that was how long ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know the years that different subdevelopments went in, but, I grew up in North Star 1 where all the sidewalks are on the curb, which is against our ordinance, but everyone has a sidewalk, which didn't affect me as a kid, not knowing that it was on the curb. And then you go to the Huber division and there's not a sidewalk anywhere, and you go to West Hazen, so it's just confusing as to where, when and why and where. And unlike a previous person who's come in here and talked about this, I do have a sidewalk on my yard, so. I'm not opposed to sidewalks, or putting one in my yard, but.
But I think you're the only sidewalk, other than maybe 1 or 2 on your.
And it's confusing with all the new laws, and I have pictures on my phone when I was coming here, but we actually have one corner that has, I think, 3 sidewalks going into it, and they haven't done construction work yet, so none of them are ABA. And then the next street, every corner has got ABA walk-ups, and there's no sidewalks on any of them. One of them has 0 sidewalks on the lot, but he's got a full pad for ABA. And I'm like, why is that? Why is that cost there? Why was it put in that way when there's never going to be a sidewalk there?
And it must have been because there was construction on that street or
Right.
something occurred.
And current codes require that they have to be put in. I'm assuming we require sidewalks, so.
Based on the funding where we get the funding from is where some of those requirements for the ADA ramps come in.
Right. But if we had an ordinance that didn't require sidewalks, would you still be required to have ADA ramps to nowhere?
So if they put in existing sidewalks now, because I don't have sidewalks, and I have a corner lot.
My
Do I have to
personal
put in that
opinion
ADA corners in,
No.
only if you get special
Yeah,
funding?
I guess I would defer to
Okay.
Josh on that a little bit.
Yeah, like on the project, so there's gonna be kind of more of what you're talking about with this project because of the funding, so there's, different levels of construction on the road, whether it's, if it's just a chip seal, they aren't, the funding requirements aren't gonna make us put that in, but if they're doing a full reconstruct, we would have to put them in. So there's, different levels of it, but yeah, there would be more of it, and I guess another thing along the lines, if the city were to, go into this mode of let's build sidewalks everywhere, there are funding options for it, for grant. I think that can help out with that cost, so the homeowner doesn't have to pay the full cost of it.
Yeah, the
That
safe
option
routes,
as well.
schools and those types of funding, yeah.
Well, back to the one-way or the one-sided parking. What do we gotta do to do that? I agree with Dan, that street is, that's probably
That's
kind of like
what it
Casey's,
was.
except there's parking on both sides, a fifth, not only one side on yours, right?
Yes.
I mean, is that gonna chap people's butt on that street that live there? I don't know.
The south side of the street is all side lots too, it's sides of people's lots, so it's not the front of their house where most people be parking. No, I can see
Yeah, I think
that.
there's only one or two maybe houses on the south side that. One for sure I can think of, but they pull up in their yard all the time.
It's just a simple motion and a sign, isn't it? I think it would just be a simple motion and a sign, what the board wants to.
Well, I think from the degree of the issue, even though it's addressing one problem now, it might be worthy of forming some sort of group of commissioners and citizens to come up with some recommendations too for the, so you can address the whole problem instead of just one little area
Yeah,
now, and then there's gonna be another area later, another area.
Is it restricted on yours? On your end?
Not on my block, the next block down it is, but I don't ever park on that side, so that's not a problem. If I would have parked something there, then it's supposed to, have a sign, but, I know in the other area, like you're talking about, I mean, there are like vehicles all the time on each side, so I mean, I'm sure those people would not be too pleased with that. But,
Well, I'm fine with having parking on both sides, then there has to be sidewalks all the way through. Because my children have been yelled at by people for walking through their grass, which is the boulevard. I kinda tell my daughter, tell them that next time they yell, in a not very nice way. So, I mean, it's kinda gotta be one way or the other. The kids have to walk through the street, it's gotta be.
And for them walking, and for them parking, some of them park on, halfway on the sidewalk, so that there's room to drive through the street. So they can try and walk in the sidewalk, but they might not be able to.
No.
Halfway on the boulevard.
Yeah, they're up there, and the sidewalk is right against the street almost, so,
They only have a 2.5-foot boulevard on this street.
yeah.
Sorry to open a can of worms.
No, it's,
No, I agree, but I think this year would be a tough year to have all property owners incur a sidewalk and all the street project that we're doing. I don't know. It's something we need to look at. I agree. Two corners.
Well, I think, I would agree with Josh, you know, if we're gonna look at doing the sidewalk, let's get some funding going.
Yeah. Yeah, because you won't be able to get it probably done this year, but if we look for funding and try and help out with that, that would be,
And I guess we could put the word out through our website and stuff saying this is what we're proposing and see if we get any comments as far as the parking
yeah,
all along Fifth Street and then
Yeah.
bring it back at the next meeting and
Well, the parking could be they have like one real week of school and then lots of fun activities for a week and a half, so that's just about over for the year, but.
yeah.
For the
it's
fall,
still used a lot though.
Yeah, they still go to the school, the pool, and
pool, camps.
Yeah.
There's lots of young foot traffic on that street.
What you can do.
Sorry?
Just buy the house in the corner north of us, then it'll all be taken care of. That's a joke, Dan. Just trying to lighten the party. No, it's something that, has been neglected for well before our time.
but yeah, I agree, we should probably form a committee and look at that and see what kind of funding we can get, and we have a committee member.
Now, are you just talking just Fifth?
I'm on all kinds of stuff.
Are you talking like,
Well, because if you want to encompass sidewalks, I mean, are we talking sidewalks, or are you talking the parking on Fifth?
talking sidewalks, that's a pretty big project.
That's a big
in the state
project.
of the city of Hazen.
Yeah, like I said, it can't be done this year, because you have to look for funding and, but something to look at, and that parking could be a separate, I mean, we could take care of that now if you wanted, or, like he said, put it on the website and ask people's opinions on that street. Because there aren't that many streets that narrow.
Maybe we should do that first and see, and, I mean, it's not gonna be hard to, really, if we get our, police department and city workers to stripe, or, paint the yellow on it.
we're trying to get away from painting the curbs.
Well, I know,
Nancy, one of the things that I would just throw in is because of the project that we were working on, with the traffic engineers that were in this room, it maybe would be advantageous to see if you could find one, a traffic engineer to come out and analyze that street and see what he or she thinks is the best alternative for that. And I don't know, are you a traffic engineer?
Me personally, no.
But
We have people that could.
But I'm just saying that the people that we had for our planning session with North Dakota Moves, that's what they do. That's their background. Something certainly probably needs to be done, and I would agree that it's a high traffic area for kids.
or, if we get a lot of stuff, do we just get it out of the ordinance? I don't know. I don't know. I live up in North Star Wood. We have sidewalks up there, we go on curbs. But I could see definitely, one of my two kids wouldn't have a problem with it. Like,
I'm at that perfect time in life where my youngest one walks every day, and my oldest one's getting a driver's license. That's a dangerous combination for her going down, and both of them going down the street, they'll probably kill each
Yeah.
other.
right.
But, so, that's all I have.
For that matter, there's not that many residents, we could send a letter to those along there too, saying we're looking at
Yeah.
changing the parking there and see what kind of feedback we get too.
Comments.
Yeah, I could do that, I guess.
I think I would start with that, and, because it's not, we're not talking a large area, we're talking, 2 blocks?
Would you
Three.
go on the east side too, though, or just?
I think you'd have to go all the way to
East or
4.
west? Oh,
Yeah, all the way to L.
Well,
You
would
have
you
to go
go
to 4th
over,
to.
would you go to the
Oh.
other side of the school too,
Yeah, I
past
would.
to Jerry's?
Well, part of that already is, but
What half
yeah,
of it?
the remaining would have to be looked at too, yeah.
I guess we're doing it, we might as well go from one end to the other.
I guess the last point would be the interesting part is biggest parking nightmare is during school events and after school, when everybody's trying to get close to the school, is when everybody's around, so.
Yeah.
That's the busiest times are when the kids are everywhere.
I know ideally for parking, it would be nice if the school would invest in the east side of the middle school, but then it takes away from our snow pile place. You know, that would be a good area for high school, middle school, elementary parking, I think. But
So I think the first item that we're gonna look at is that parking on that Fifth Street, as far as you wanna go. Do you wanna send out, to people who live on that street and see what they feel, and we'll start there? And see if we can't come up with a solution for that. And then we can think about the sidewalk, ordinance, and at the next meeting, come up with some ideas, or get a committee together. I agree with that, I think that would go. But thank you for bringing it up to us, we'll definitely work on it.
Thanks for your time, I appreciate
You
it.
betcha, thanks. Okay, we have a 9A building permit, Western Steel Builders.
Yep, that's, putting in a pole frame building for Dawn and Marcia Stefan, out behind the meat market. Kind of just that big empty open spot in the middle there. They replatted it into 3 lots, and Stefan's have the one in the middle, so it'll be pretty much in the middle of that open area behind the meat market. It's pretty cut and dry. He meets all the requirements of size and lot occupancies.
is it north of the meat market or
Yeah, it'll be north of the meat market, in behind Peterson's building.
in that alleyway area?
The alley goes up north and south here. And then
Right. It's like, yeah, right in here. So it'll run,
east and
it's got
west.
a, yeah, east and west.
So where is Carlos's building going? That's the block over, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's over
It's up here.
up in the corner on your side.
okay. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to look down and see where we're at here. Okay,
So they've split it into 3 lots and he's building on one of those 3? Make a motion that we approve the building permit as presented.
second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, roll call.
Miller.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. And we're on to reports. Water, sewer.
Barry, Morris, retired, last month on the 24th. And his party was last week Friday at City Hall. As you all know, the cleanup week is on its way. And then one of the transfer pumps out at the lagoon needs some extensive work on the railing and the flange, outlet flange assembly where it mounts up, because they already overhauled the pump, the same kind of problem, doesn't move enough, and it's come to find out, as this pump gets slid down in place, it kind of slides on the discharge flange, and it's not mating up there right, and it's leaking a lot, it's rusted away. So I move that we, rebuild that transfer station for $6,000.
Scope of work would be to put a new flange connection and replace the existing pump
Yeah.
and motor assembly.
Yeah, the rail system.
Is that transfer pump, Casey, is that the circulation pump, or, no?
It's between cell 2 and 3, I believe. And there's only one in there, so I had to move from cell to cell. So I mean, it's a very important
Right,
pump. So.
right.
No.
I was just wondering if that had anything to do with our nice little fumes, if it
Oh.
wasn't circulating
No.
properly, okay, okay. Gotcha. Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
When are they anticipating, or who's gonna take care of that?
The Dakota pump is gonna be doing the work. Didn't ask how soon they could get out here, or I didn't ask Dick, I guess, how soon, but, it sounded like they knew it was a very, I guess, important job too.
Sure.
So.
The one that's in there right now is functional, but it's leaking and,
Yeah,
okay.
they're not really making all that much progress at all.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
as it is.
Okay. If no more discussion, we'll take roll call.
Stern,
Aye.
Hack,
aye,
Hiller,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye. Motion carried. Anything else?
No, yeah.
Okay, street, cemetery?
Casey kinda touched on a couple things that I was gonna touch on. We did get the new push mowers in, I had a chance to look at them. I think was a good investment, the trailer we got too as well. That's gonna be another good investment. And then I was gonna defer to Dave and see how the first day of the chaos is going,
Same as usual,
okay?
and, inspection has been done on the boom truck. And I got the report back, I haven't gone through it yet, no major issues. It does have a couple, and I'm gonna go through that and see how much we can handle in-house and what might have to be farmed out to the outfit that did the inspection, but there's really no big major issues with it. So.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, I don't know if I brought it up last commission, we got that roll-off dumpster for the metal. And that's been going,
That's going good, it's full, I called them for a replacement, so they're gonna come pick us up.
And when do you take metal?
Metal from, yeah, it'll come out, what, next week?
yeah, starting next Tuesday from
Okay.
1 to 4, somebody will be at the shop so people can
Okay.
deposit metal.
and I'm sure we're filling it up with just,
With cleanup, we will fill a couple dumpsters, I'm sure.
I think that'll help out quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
That they're rotating our workers every Tuesday for a couple, 3 hours. So
Okay,
making sure the right things get put in there. And that's all I have.
okay.
Oh, Shannon, sorry, you said you were gonna talk.
Jerry had contacted MDU regarding a streetlight. I guess some of the people and Jerry felt it was kind of an unsafe corner. Southern corner of Third Avenue Northeast and Sixth Street Northeast, kind of back and behind the abstract office and by Moses Park. And MDU gave us an estimate of $2,784 for that streetlight.
Oh, they wanna put one in?
And it's gonna be in the boulevard, I went up and found the pins and everything, but he's gonna get an easement to cut in the line and everything.
So with that, I'd like to make the motion to move forward with that streetlight. on that street and corner in the amount of $2,784.
We do have a motion on the floor.
Because we currently don't have one over there, right?
There's one on the corner of 7th and 3rd, but it faces 7th.
Right.
So the light doesn't shine back there at all, and other than that, there isn't one all the way to the bottom on 3rd when it intersects with the next street, so it's pretty darn bad.
We do have a motion on the floor. Can you please get a second?
Where did this come from?
Estimate?
No, not yet.
Jerry,
Somebody
must have talked to Jerry
Jerry
about it.
mentioned it even at the last meeting.
Yeah,
I think it was his own observation.
I always thought there was one right there by that, where it used to be a drive-in by Moses Park. At one point in time, I thought there was one there, but
Like I said, there is one on the corner of 7th by the school, but it
it
faces,
faces south, yeah.
and there isn't another one until you get down to 5th.
Is that where you hang out, Buster? In the dark?
So the drinking and park area.
What are the wishes of the board? If we have no second, do we have to have a? If there is no second, it just dies,
Just that.
okay?
I'd like to look at it a little bit more.
Okay,
If there is no second, it will die. Due to a lack of a second. Anything else?
nope, I'll just, kind of sort of table it.
No, you can bring it up again. Okay,
No, that's it.
Dan?
Nothing to report at this time.
I got a question.
Yes.
Say, no resident, contacted me, I guess he contacted, I guess the like PD about golf carts driving on the bike path that leads up to the golf course.
Okay.
And, I guess he was told, I guess, that that's probably allowed, but then he pointed out a sign that was on that like bike path, but,
I know Casey to comment on that last summer. I'd seen one and I stopped that individual
Yeah.
and pointed it out and they respected my request. But
I drive on the shoulder of the road now, but,
no, there's.
I watched somebody the other day as well, so. But we do have signage up there that, I know it says bike path. Do we have signs that say no motorized vehicles allowed? Okay,
Right there at the, right there
Okay.
at the corner, I'm pretty sure there is.
yeah.
On either end, if I recall.
So, the action, I guess, would be if our officers see that they should, and I guess we probably should also confront individuals. I saw a gentleman, I know who he is, and I can touch base with him as well. I don't know if it's the same person that you talked to or not, but we can maybe talk offline.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe just, you know, pass it on.
Yep.
You know, so, great.
Anything else for Dan? I have nothing at this time. HCD? Buster, do you have anything?
I'm just talking about it. We're doing a law thing back here. Dave and I, it's permissible to drive your golf cart along the side of the path and not on the path.
So it's a
Because I was
ATV.
hoping that I should have had my home already and back, but I didn't make it, Casey, down there.
Straight on the side of the
So
road.
you got caught, Buster?
Oh, I haven't, I didn't make it yet.
He will.
Anyway, I don't have a lot to talk about. I'll talk about the moves project, North Dakota moves project. Basically what we ended up doing with the project after they looked at our three sites the day that we met here, we decided that we would have them really help us with one major portion of the site. And what it is we're talking about the corner here from Main Street going up to the four-way stop on Main Street. And basically what we're looking at doing is and there, I haven't seen any design as of yet, but they said they were gonna be sending us some stuff. The street is wide enough where we can get in, keep the diagonal parking, but we're talking about doing reverse diagonal parking on the north side. It still would be wide enough though, so you could do the diagonal parking, put a bike lane in, keep the parallel parking on the opposite side, on the south side, and put a bike lane in there as well. So that is going to be part of our demonstration project that we're gonna be trying to work on in probably middle July and then maybe early August, something like that. The other areas that we had talked about, of course, were the where the Christmas tree goes. And that might be something that we had just decided that there are a couple of those projects that we'd probably just venture. And not that I want to speak for this commission here, but we talked about that we would just try to take care of those locally, in-house ourselves, in terms of what we might want to do with those things. And so I'm not sure as far as, you know, moving forward on any of that. I haven't really done any planning on that, and to be honest with you, I don't really want to be the person leading the charges on that, because I'll be helping enough with the project that we're doing here on the moves project. Now, the other thing that we decided that we would also do as part of that piece, they're doing the engineering and whatever on that section, but in addition to that, other thing that we talked about is from the corner here, going off front of Heritage Park, all the way out to the intersection. And the one thing we talked about doing there is the road's a little bit narrower, okay? But putting a bike lane in on the south side, running all the way, and then restricting the parking to the north side, parallel parking on the north side, and putting a bike lane in there. And ideally, being you guys were talking about sidewalks, ideally what would be the best thing to do, according to the traffic engineer that was out there, would be to probably put in like an 8-foot wide sidewalk running on George Washington through Pioneer and coming up Main. Would be the ideal thing to do in terms of long-range planning. Part of it is, I asked the question, I said, can you have a joint bike lane and pedestrian walking area? And he said, you can, and maybe, I don't remember, you know, there's some certain specific specifications for the width on those, is it there?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah, and I think that would be the thing. But he said ideally, especially if we're thinking that long-range plan for the city overall would be to somehow tie in from north of Senex, okay? And same thing with that street there. they talked about that street is wide enough for 2 bike lanes. Okay, and you'd restrict the parking on one side, basically. And of course, that was all just discussion, nothing that, but for the future, in terms of looking forward and doing some planning. You know, I wish that originally my thought process was that I thought that we would have had enough jingle in the coffers with the Pioneers project to really circle that campus with a bike or a walking path, you know, and ideally, I think that would have been the good thing to do. But anyway, that's where the North Dakota Move stuff is looking at and what we're planning for downtown here. Now, the other thing about it is that raised a couple eyebrows when we talked about doing the reverse parking versus diagonal. That diagonal would go the opposite direction. So if you can envision now what would happen is if you're going west on Main, you pull past the parking spot and you back in. Okay? And the idea behind that is because then the bike lane is out on the front of that, and you have much better visibility when you're pulling out of those spots. And we haven't talked with the business owners yet, but I'm thinking that after Dan's article in the paper, they probably perked their ears a little bit. But you know, basically the 3 businesses that we've got: the Star, Promised Land Design, and Hair Salon. But we will visit with them once we know exactly where that's at, and in terms of what it might take to, you know, at least temporarily change. And they showed us signage that they have used in a couple other spots for that. So we're hoping that it'll work well. And then the other part of it is if it works well, then we can look at doing that downtown, and then it'll just give everybody a better chance to fill their trunks from shopping by going local on Main Street. But it was interesting to see that our streets are wide enough to do those things then. And they are doing that project. They're doing a demonstration project like that in Grand Forks with the opposite angle parking is what I call it.
Lester, did they give you any kind of mock-up drawing?
Not as of yet. They said they were gonna send me some stuff, and I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything. So I missed an email that I saw that when I was checking my iPad and cleaning that up, that she was wondering about the week of the 16th of July for the demonstration project, but I'm gonna have to bail on that, because for me that won't quite work, but.
It might be worthwhile for if Dan were to put something
Yes.
on paper, pictures worth
Yep.
1,000 words.
Yep. And that's what we were hoping for. And in fact, I had, when they were here, I asked, could you get me something fairly quickly? Because I said, I know the editor will be talking to me. It would have been nice to have it in the paper already, but that's all right. Dan, I'm sure he'll follow up with another article or two as we move closer.
So the bike path is out by the street there.
On the street, both sides.
That sounds like quick getaway parking to me.
Well, let's save it for after hours. Any questions on that? As far as that goes, I don't have any updated information. The USDA is still sitting on the application for them. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that, you guys.
I have a question now. What kind of time frame? Because you know, with the
Yes.
project, we're chip sealing that section, then we're coming back in and striping it.
Yep, and, you know what, how about we'll have to visit with you about that in more detail, once I can pin down the project. The idea was to probably leave it up for a month, once we have it marked, okay? And go probably, I'd say go a month at most, and then we'll just see how it goes, take everything down, and if it's, and I don't know, Pat, does that, if we decide that we wanna do that, eventually, does that have to become ordinance, and that we reverse parking? I call it reverse, but I mean, it's still diagonal, but it's,
Yeah, the hope was, Josh, that we'll have it up for the demonstration and then you'll seal over it and we'll never know what was there.
yeah,
If it's not accepted.
if it's not, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure we weren't, the striker fence would come out and restripe it. Yeah, what are you doing here?
The other thing that, as part of that project that I forgot to mention too, that we had talked about doing is extending the curbs out on the four-way stop on 3 sides, and make it further than we would on the south side, because there's a lot of truck traffic that comes from the south end of the elevator. But the idea behind that is that, again, that's a safety issue. That shortens the crosswalk that they have to go through, plus it gives the drivers better visibility. And that was something too that we had talked about, just in our little group, that if it works well, that might be something the city might want to consider doing on the corner of IBW, where we have a blind spot so bad in that area. So we'll see how that turns out. Okay. Other questions? No questions? Very good. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lester. Okay, we'll move on to one call electronic delivery system.
One call is moving away from the fax system, so they presented an agreement for us to sign up to receive notifications to locate by email. They said we could do multiple emails if we wish, but they charge extra for each additional email address. So my proposal is that if they'll come just to the office, we'll set up an automatic rule that it goes out to the rest of them right away as soon as it comes in.
Do we need to have any action on this?
Yeah,
or-
we'll need a motion to approve.
Okay.
Because it needs, the agreement needs a signature.
Okay,
Motion approved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If none, roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Pillar.
Aye.
Stern.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. Then we have the NDIRF annual meeting proxy.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of meetings ago. If anybody's interested in attending, it's coming up very soon, Thursday, May 17th. If not, we can submit the proxy for the resolutions and directors election. There is only one person running in the city's category, so there's not a lot to decide on the election. So I guess just some direction if somebody wants to attend or if you want me to submit the proxy.
Is anybody available to attend?
I will be.
I will be.
And then we'll submit the proxy.
All right. 11C is the Quinn letter nuisance ordinance. Everyone should have a copy of the letter that he sent us.
He just he said he wouldn't be able to appear, just wanted to make sure that everyone received a copy of the letter so that it keeps the discussion going on updating our ordinances.
And I drove out there and looked at the vehicles that he's talking about in his letter. Do we know if they're licensed or?
I don't think they are.
I don't believe they are.
License plates on
No, if you look at the picture that Mike submitted,
Actually, the police department took the picture.
they zoomed in on it, right, and there was no plates on either of the
There were
two.
no plates on either one of them.
Right.
He's not on the front of that one.
Right.
The one on the bottom, I had talked to the homeowner, this was a little while ago, and he said that that's his hunting vehicle, and that he keeps it licensed, but clearly I don't see a plate on the back of it at this point. because he had raised some concern about his neighbor right straight across the street with the pickup truck on the top, that had been sitting there for years with no movement.
Well, and the one on top, it's parked in his driveway. I mean, is there an ordinance that says you can't park a vehicle in your driveway for a year?
I think the ordinance talks about the licensing though.
Okay,
That you have
It
to
has
have
to
an
be.
up-to-date license on it, or,
His thing too is that they're in the boulevard. And that's also something with ordinance, is that it's really vague. It talks about public ways and stuff, but it doesn't really, it's not worded right to really be able to tell them they can't park there. Because if you look at where their property pins are at, they're in the boulevard.
what if we did that, how many vehicles are in the boulevard?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many driveways are considered part of their driveway? And maybe we need to look at that ordinance, because to me, it's parked in a driveway.
Yeah, they both have, you know, even the one on the north
Yep.
side, it's grass.
It's
but
a it's a
driveway.
dirt driveway. I saw that. Yeah, and maybe we need to look at that ordinance again and,
But I think, yeah, we'll have to sit down with law enforcement. and
Yeah.
We did get some examples from other cities
Okay.
as far as the licensing and stuff. so
and I'll talk to Jim, because he's got an envelope of different citizens that they have reached out to and have written letters to and things like that. I'd be curious whether either of these two have ever been addressed with that.
because I mean, we see junked vehicles in town, and that is not the worst example of junked vehicles in our community. There are some that have 8, 10, 12 vehicles in their yard.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us put more effort in cleaning those up.
I visited with someone on Friday. I was in someone's alley finding a pin, and the neighbor said that there was a car sitting there that had been there since 1995.
Yeah,
It's just that they're forever.
if you know that they're abandoned, you know. But these didn't have any weeds growing, so,
You know, and I've had a conversation where there was a vehicle, and I don't know if it was in the same alleyway, a car that sat there or has sat there for many years. The ownership of that is disputed at this point, because there's a separation, there's divorce and everything like that. So if, you know, one of the things that it says is that we need to get it signed off, that we would take the vehicle and stuff. So some of those things make it challenging as well. There's probably more vehicles around now than ever.
yeah.
And I don't know that you can set an ordinance that says how many vehicles an individual can have.
Right.
There are some residents that have many vehicles.
Shannon, what did that, on a different note, but on this note, that sheet that you and I looked at last Friday, what said you?
What's that?
The nuisance and the abandoned vehicles form,
Oh,
it looked like a really,
the candy night.
short, sweet,
The,
sign off on this and we can move your vehicle.
yeah, it was the, Custer Health, when I contacted them about that trailer and all the cats. She said they have a program that also gets rid of abandoned vehicles,
Oh.
where a company from Bismarck actually comes and hauls them away and like uses them for, crushes them and uses
And
them
I
for
don't know,
scrap
Shannon
metal.
was gonna check into, is there a cost associated with that?
Right.
To the owner or to us?
And there's a form, you just fill it out, submit it, and
Presumably, we would have had gone down the path where you had 1 letter, 2 letters, 3 letters, or something like that before you could just take someone's vehicle and crush it.
she said it is still gonna be a lengthy process. I'm sure you can give everybody so
Right.
many dates to respond and stuff, but.
But that's an option for people who don't know what to do with their,
And at least, you know, cause like Quinn said in his letter was that we don't have any place to put the vehicles.
Yeah.
Well, this way, we have a salvage yard that's gonna come and take them away for us, and then we don't have to worry about it.
As long as we don't have costs associated with that.
Well, and that's one thing we just put out for specials.
You know, because this is a lengthy adventure to go through for each individual that might have a vehicle sitting out there, you know, how does Joe Citizen out there know that anything is or isn't being done with regard to the vehicles? I mean, the fact that they sit there, you take a look at our current ordinance, it would take a long time, could involve court. And like I say, there's a folder over at the police station to where they have been active on this. And it's been cyclical. You know, it's not a priority every week that they're going out there looking for abandoned vehicles and stuff like that. You know, the report for the month of April, they had 110 events that they responded to over the course of the month of April. So it's not a quiet little Mayberry town necessarily. So.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Then we will move on to new business. Designate the official newspaper.
This is required by statute annually. We don't have a lot of choices, so I guess somebody just wants to make a motion to designate the Hazen Star.
Dan, you want a job or don't you? Motion to have the Hazen Star for our designated official newspaper.
I'll second that.
There is a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Pillar,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. Motion approved. A fireworks sales permit for Memory Fireworks.
Wayne has been pretty consistent in running operations for Memory Fireworks and looking at using the All Seasons Arena again. Stan has approved it as fire chief. Basically, it comes back to you. He has paid the necessary fee. So I guess, do you want to sell fireworks? And depending on what the weather's like, are we going to be able to sell them?
Yeah. So we do need a motion if you want to sell fireworks in Hazen. Well, if you want them to sell fireworks.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Pillar,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. Bus facility ADA improvement.
Okay, shortly after we finished the new bus facility, we had, initially we were told that we could just use a doorbell system for ADA compliance, where if somebody needed assistance, they could ring the bell and somebody could help them. After the building was all done, the state was notified by federal transit that that wasn't acceptable as a push-button ADA opener. The state will include this under our fiscal year 2018 grant, so it is an 80-20 grant. So
You're talking about the access door to go into the waiting room?
yes,
Okay.
because public is not permitted in the other areas.
Okay.
So we do need a motion though, so that we have all the approvals for the state funding, federal funding on it.
And that's what it comes down to is the requirement there. What's the difference between that and Hardware Hank or the bank?
Because it was new construction, federally funded.
Got it. Okay.
And we just need to put in a ADA.
Yeah, it just needs the controller and the buttons.
Yep.
A little bit of electrical work.
And we got a bid on that already?
Yeah, from Western Steel Builders, and he did include an allowance of $1,000 for the electrical work, which he didn't think it would be quite that. Total bid was $43.81.
Move to approve the ADA door improvement.
We do have a motion.
I'll second that.
And a second. Any discussion?
Maybe a little over $800 would be the city share.
Roll call.
Stern.
Aye.
Pillar.
Aye.
Hack.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. Approval of the bills.
What is an in-vehicle surveillance system?
We have a quote from Safety Vision. They have done all of the other in our bus video cameras. There's 2 cameras in each, along with the GPS systems, recorder and all of that. We don't have one. We currently have one in all the vehicles except the brand new vehicle. This is a proposal to put one in, and this would be under our grant, the operating grant, so it's a 50-50, so the city share would be about $2,300, $2,100, excuse me.
We gotta do this.
What's that?
We gotta do it every year.
We've been fortunate enough, we've been replacing vehicles, but the last vehicle that we just got rid of didn't have a camera, so we weren't able to just relocate it, so this would be to purchase a whole new camera system, 2 cameras and the HD recorder and everything for that. The biggest cost here is almost the biggest cost is the travel expenses, because we're such a small fleet. They charge a flat fee of $2,000 to come from Houston, Texas to put this together for us. But he said he would make it worth our while. They'll go through all of our other systems and make any repairs. We have been having issues with one of them where it cuts in and out. So he said they would go through all the systems then while they're here.
They're the only people that do that?
That do the Safety Vision that we've got all of our systems through. I did contact the Harlow's, went through a place in Bismarck, REI. They can do a system for us. It'd be, well, it basically would save us the travel, but then it wouldn't be compatible. We'd have to do we'd have to have all different systems to play all the stuff and everything as well then. So it would basically come back to almost the same price.
I gotcha.
Pretty much.
So is there any way that, maybe wait on this until that they've got other jobs in the area?
I can work with them and see if they've got anything coming this way, so that some of those expenses can be shared. Like I say, the last I talked to them, I said, is that the best you guys can do? You know, the last time we were able to do the travel and all the expenses for installation for a little over $1,000. And they said, well, management has now gone to just a flat fee. If you're only so many vehicles in your fleet, you pay this fee. If you have more than that, you get the break. So I can visit with them some more. And
Yeah, let's talk
Okay.
about that transportation stuff a little bit more. That's
Okay.
highway robbery. I've never heard anybody do it like that before, and we have a lot of out-of-staters come in for plant work and stuff like
Okay.
that. Granted, the contract might be more than that, but still.
Yeah, I can get some more information together.
And I'm suspecting all of this delay just exposes the city a little bit.
The vehicle isn't used daily.
Okay,
It's basically right now kind of a spare. They use it for the baseball game here and there, so it's not carrying the students on a morning and afternoon basis.
okay.
So yeah, we can get a little more information if you'd like and try and do
But it-
something better.
But it will be carrying students come next year.
Yeah, we've basically got 3 buses full for next year.
Just a hard pill to swallow, somebody holding you captive like that.
I'll get more information. Okay.
Okay, we'll hold off on that.
Yep.
Okay, approval of the bills.
I think so.
Yeah, those before, some new ones.
Hey, yeah, you got a few there today.
What's that tractor supply credit plan?
It's actually the
Is it the credit card or?
tractor supply credit card.
Okay. Oh, Oh, that's the chart, okay.
That's just paying for the spray
Gotcha.
nozzles.
Gotcha. Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None, roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Miller, Wolf.
Aye. Motion carried. There's no other business? Meeting is adjourned.